what evidence, what is the earliest evidence that you can cite to suggest that the 114 chapters in the Quran should be the only 114 chapters, not anything more, not anything less, of the Quran? We today know that this entire story that Arabia was filled with idolatry is just humbug story. We know it today. Leading
It's monotheistic.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure,
So leading
maybe
epigraphists.
there were more Jews and Christians.
Exactly. So leading epigraphists today, latest information. So the entire claim that Muhammad was dealing with pagan Meccan Arabs is just bonkers. It's just junk.
There were some pagan
No, it's just junk.
idolatry, so.
Some whatever, but
Because
Muhammad
even,
wasn't dealing with them.
For example,
Muhammad wasn't dealing with them. Substantial information right now tells us Muhammad wasn't dealing with any pagan, could not have been dealing with any pagan Meccan Arabs because of a number of reasons. Mecca didn't exist, paganism didn't exist, and therefore this is just a complete humbug story. Would you at least now agree, after having had enough time to check evidence, at least now would you agree this entire origin account is a made-up myth from later times of Muhammad dealing with pagan Meccan Arabs? Nas, we're coming for you. Where are you going? Yeah, please. Nas, please go. Please. No, please. Nas, please don't run away. Nas, please don't run away. What? Nas. So, Nas, everyone is being fooled by the idea that the Quran is not corrupt.
Justification by faith alone.
Is fooled by the idea that Quran
Please,
Quran
you are a slanderer and you deserve what you get.
Quran is not corrupt. So on this particular topic, if I could ask you, what evidence, what is the earliest evidence that you can cite to suggest that the 114 chapters in the Quran should be the only 114 chapters, not anything more, not anything less, of the Quran?
So for me, it would be the Muslim nation or the Muslim Ummah, because the nation collectively as a whole has memorized and transmitted the book. So in every generation, there's always been people who have recited the Quran from memory.
But Nas, you understand the topic area better. Unlike most of the Dawah mafia ringleaders, you know the word evidence. That's the key word I'm using. I'm not asking you to repeat your belief statement. I'm asking you for evidence. What evidence do you have to suggest that the Quran should have 114 chapters that you currently have, not any more, not any less? What's the earliest evidence you have?
I mean, my evidence would be myself. So I've memorized parts of the Quran, and I learned it from my teachers, and they learned it from their teachers, and so on. And it goes back right to the time of the Prophet Muhammad.
I completely understand. You're repeating another aspect of the claim that you have a chain going back. I completely understand. Muslims have these claims in mind. Completely understand. But now I'm asking for evidence, because we live in the UK. This is not Iran. This is not we don't go by delusional ideas. We need evidence to believe in something. So to you, the question is, what evidence have you got? If you don't have, just tell me you don't have.
This is my evidence.
No, you understand the word evidence.
The answer I'm going to give, whatever I say, is not satisfactory.
No, please, you just need to think through this carefully. You understand English as good as me, if not better.
Speaking English, yeah.
The word is evidence. When I say evidence, we are clearly referring to some sort of an artifact, some sort of a historical artifact, literary artifact, archaeological artifact that you can use going back in history, that you can establish to be old enough, but can use to demonstrate your belief statement from the earliest of times. Today you can repeat belief statements any number of times. That's what brainwashed people do. But what intelligent people do is they go to evidence. Have you got any of these historical art, some literary artifact, something perhaps even in the Quran, if you like, some sort of extra canonization material somewhere or whatever. What's the earliest evidence you have for the Quran to be considered as a book with 114 surahs?
Yeah, I mean, since you mentioned the Quran, then if you were to like add up every chapter with the number of verses that appear in each chapter, they will tally up to 52 results. So you have 52 odd numbers and 52 even numbers. And the total number of chapters will come to roughly, will be 6,555.
I don't know, are you into too much numerology or what? I'm asking about
reason
evidence
why
for
I'm-
the 114 surahs. You're talking about numerology.
Well,
No,
the
you can
reason why-
pursue.
yeah,
If you're interested in numerology, you can pursue that in your spare time. But I am asking for evidence for 114 surahs. I'm not asking you for numerology. 114 surahs, any evidence that you have, these are exactly the 114, not any less, not any more, that Muhammad gave you in the 7th century.
I mean, the reason why I mentioned those examples is because if you were to change any of those numbers, then you wouldn't have the
That's
results
numerology.
coming out.
114, why?
Well, I mean, if there had been like extra chapters or extra verses, then the results wouldn't add up.
I'll
to
give
the
you
way-
some hints right now,
Yeah.
because you're clearly into. In the Quran, there are 3 kinds of theologies. 3 kinds. There are a number of chapters in the Quran, as you would know. The last many chapters in the Quran have a particular, most of them have a particular theology which is very different from the rest of the Quran. Their theology is the end is coming, the end is coming, the destruction, end is coming. That's all. Most of the early Quranic manuscripts don't have any of these chapters. There is good reason.
Most doesn't mean all.
Please listen. You have to go centuries. You have to go centuries before you find a Quran with these chapters. And so the problem you have is this. It would appear, based on evidence, that the last many chapters were plucked out of thin air from God knows where, unrelated to Muhammad, cobbled together with the other 2 kinds of theologies in the Quran by some strange fellow somewhere, but none of these belong to the 7th century. I'm giving you a piece of information based on manuscripts. Many manuscripts.
You mean in terms of eschatology?
Do you know
then
the earliest Quranic
Birmingham
manuscript? Please listen to me.
has
Do you know the
eschatology
earliest
in it.
Quranic manuscript? Do you know the earliest Quranic manuscript that has the last, let's say, 20 or 30 surahs?
From the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
But you believe in the 114 surahs,
Yeah,
and you
they-
say you
they-
have a long chain or whatever.
Yeah,
you even
based
you
on
give.
oral transmission.
Please listen, Nas. You even give an impression that somehow you learn from someone and somehow you can reach Muhammad even
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
sure,
So you
yeah.
seem to know too much, and so what I am asking is much less. And so please, do you have information on the earliest manuscript of the Quran that has the last, let's say, most of the last, let's say, 30, 40 surahs?
I mean, one example would be from the National Egyptian Museum.
Which one is that?
They have like a complete codex of the Quran,
When is that from?
which is dated from the 1st century of Islam.
You're making this up right now. What is the name of the manuscript?
So it's from the National Egyptian Museum.
That's a museum. What is the name of the manuscript?
So they hold one of the oldest copies.
Which
of
one?
complete Quran.
What is the name?
And another example is also
No, please. You haven't given one example so far. Which one are you citing right now? I'm really keen to find out.
So I've given you reference to
That's
the
why I put it here so I
Egyptian.
can pick up your voice. But when you go, give me the like.
Okay, yeah.
pick up your voice.
So yeah, I've given an example of the National.
No, you
So
haven't. You've
can
given me an
research
example
it
of a
for-
museum.
So you can
You've given me an
research, look it
example
up
of
for yourself.
Nas. Muslims are being deluded across the world, even in the UK. They walk around with all sorts of delusions, and they consider people like you as leaders. Now, of course, in your case, I can tell you, in your case, you're not as violent as the remaining fellows, mafia ringleaders. The only the worst part I've seen in you is that you made way for violence of others. That I have seen. Harasses as they approached me the other day.
I'm not a leader, so
That shows. That shows you have a cunning strategy. That's what it shows. So
Then you
now,
shouldn't
given
be
that,
speaking to me if you don't think I'm honest.
no, if I don't speak to violent Muslims, I can't speak to anyone at Park.
Yeah, but if you
And so,
think
please,
I'm not
Nas,
sincere, then there's no
Nas,
point in
please.
having
And this is where,
I mean, the point of a conversation is that we take it for granted that I believe you're sincere and that you also
I'm very
believe I'm
sincere,
sincere.
and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying openly. It is a fact, and it is on camera that as someone came to a bunch of people, came to harass me, you, those younger folk, instead of having a word with them, you moved away rather craftily, and that is on camera. Now, and that is where my only point is. Prior to that, I would have had a little bit more respect to you. But on that day, respect plummeted a lot more. But having said that, I can at least say you did not organize a mafia gang to come and violently hit me like Masay did. So that much I agree.
I don't know who you're speaking about.
I'm Masay, Mansoor, Dawah, the Dawah Foolishness channel. So to you, therefore, my question is, because people are listening to people like you, I would like to find out some proper concrete information. And I am not happy that one of the major claims of Islam is that somehow the Quran is preserved, not corrupt and so on. And you can't even give me basic information for 114 surahs.
But I don't expect it to be like
No, you didn't give any evidence. You didn't give any.
To you, that's fine. So
No, last is
we can move on.
we can move on. So now let me ask you another question. According to the Quran, there are three kinds of theologies. One is the end is coming.
Yeah, and then you're asking me what's the earliest example. So my
Yeah.
answer
According-
is National Egyptian Museum.
According
They have
to
one of the oldest complete copies
yeah,
of the Quran.
but no, that's the name of a museum. That's which manuscript do you have in mind?
I don't know the name of the
Sure,
manuscript.
sure.
off the
Which
top of my
which
head.
means you haven't given anything so far. That's fine.
No, I've given you reference to the National Egyptian.
Sure,
but
sure. Let me
you
ask
don't
you
have
this.
to accept it.
Let me ask you this. Latest research I've mentioned to you multiple times, and you said you'll go do your further research on this. We today know that this entire story that Arabia was filled with idolatry is just humbug story. We know it today. Leading
It's monotheistic.
monotheistic,
compared to-
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So leading
So maybe
epigraphist.
there were more Jews and Christians.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
So leading epigraphist today, latest information. So the entire claim that Muhammad was dealing with pagan Meccan Arabs is just bonkers. It's just junk.
There were some pagan
No, it's just junk.
idolatry, so.
Some whatever, but
Because
Muhammad
even,
wasn't dealing with them.
For example,
Muhammad wasn't dealing with them. Substantial information right now tells us Muhammad wasn't dealing with any pagan, could not have been dealing with any pagan Meccan Arabs because of a number of reasons. Mecca didn't exist, paganism didn't exist, and therefore this is just a complete humbug story. And so Islam, like I said,
disagree, but anyway.
what evidence have you got? So you said you're going to check up last time. Remember you were going to what is the evidence
So
you have that
it's
Muhammad was dealing with pagan
monotheistic,
Meccan Arabs?
But it's also pagan as well. It's religiously plural.
Yeah.
So you
Tell
have
me
pagans,
what
Jews,
evidence.
and Christians.
Tell me what evidence you have that Muhammad engaged with pagan Meccan Arabs. What evidence have you?
So you can just make reference to the scholars that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Even they would say that there was some form of paganism.
Now, let me
even
ask,
if
the
it wasn't
question I've
like
asked you,
predominantly.
what evidence have you got? Because this is one of the fundamental claims of
Yes,
Islam.
I'm making
What
an argument
evidence
from
have you got?
authority.
No.
So
that is a
using
fallacious
the
argument, as
same
you would know.
scholars that you
You
appeal
can't
to.
just name a scholar. Ahmad al-Jalad would tell you.
Yeah, I'm a Jalad. Yeah.
Ahmad al-Jalad would tell you, primarily, the Arabian Peninsula was monotheistic.
Primary doesn't mean 100%.
There is every evidence that idolatry was virtually gone from the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah, so
What
but
evidence
Ahmad
have you
Jalad
got to the
doesn't
contrary?
say virtually gone, but he says there
What
was
does he
some
say?
kind of religious reformation, like maybe sixth or fifth century.
No. He says at least 2 centuries before
Yeah, so
Muhammad
fifth
is supposed to
century.
have arrived. At least 2 centuries before.
There was
In
some
some
kind of
places, 5
religious-
centuries before. 5 centuries before Muhammad is supposed to have arrived, idolatry, Reformation, idolatry was gone. So question to you is, would you at least now agree,
you
after
can-
having had enough time to check evidence, at least now would you agree This entire origin account is a made-up myth from later times of Muhammad dealing with pagan Meccan Arabs. Clearly, evidence doesn't support it.
Ahmad Jalad also wouldn't agree as well.
No, I'm asking you what evidence, and if you don't have evidence, which you have had plenty of time, the last time I asked you this question was a number of months ago. So if you haven't found any evidence in the meantime, would you at least be willing to change your mind?
Yeah, if there's evidence to the contrary, I'm always open-minded.
I brought evidence to the contrary. Ahmad al-Jalad.
Yeah, but Ahmad Jalad doesn't say completely what you say.
No, I told you what he said.
Like, he doesn't say.
You mentioned about Reformation. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Do you know what timeline he gives for that?
So he says roughly 6th or 5th century.
No. He says at least 2 centuries before.
Yeah, so that's
Muhammad.
5th century.
In the latest.
Islam is 7.
In the latest sense, in many other places, 5 centuries before. Idolatry was gone. So when Muhammad was supposed to have been walking around, if for 2 centuries idolatry was gone, could he have had as primary opponents pagan Meccan Arabs?
I don't understand the question. Say that again.
If Muhammad, if for at least 2 centuries,
Yeah.
if idolatry had been gone, in your words, reformed, across the Arabian Peninsula.
It's not idolatry has completely been wiped out.
But
there was some kind of religious reformation.
What kind?
Where you have monotheists
Yeah.
coming into existence. So according to Ahmad Jalal, it does seem that Arabia was more monotheistic
More?
than previously thought.
more,
But that doesn't
Are
mean
you
there
sure
wasn't no
You're-
Meccan pagan
Ma'am,
Arabs.
you know 10 minutes ago you said I need to be sincere. Now I'm asking you to be sincere.
Sure.
A long time ago I showed you evidence. I can when I release this video I'll show the past video also
Okay.
for people to see.
Sure.
Ahmad al-Jalad goes with proper evidence. And the evidence is clear. For at least 2 centuries, idolatry was virtually gone from the Arabian Peninsula.
Ahmad Jalal doesn't say this,
Sure.
but you can show the
If that is
video,
what
so-
if that is what you're saying, that's
the
fine.
part that's contentious. so, yeah.
No, that's the part you're denying, despite the fact that I
That's
mentioned
the
that
part-
to you.
Yeah, I disagree with you.
Mentioned
yeah,
to you
Ahmad
earlier.
Jalal doesn't say
So
this.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of jihad, what information is there in the Quran? Okay, just one second. We'll just quickly change the battery. But no. Don't care about how you represent.
I care about humanity.
Yes, you care about your ummah.
I believe ummah includes.
Yeah. So
Muslim
this
or
all
non-Muslim.
of these recordings are for the benefit of your ummah. It is
And
for
do you
no
also
once.
care about humanity as well.
I care about everyone.
And
That's
you
why I
also
come
make
to speak
money
as well.
from it as well. from
Listen
your
to me
YouTube.
carefully. I
I
care
don't
about.
make profit or money.
You
No
don't-
one pays me coming here.
Well, at this rate, you shouldn't be making money because you're not giving answers at all.
But
So,
you,
now-
you do profit.
Jihad,
And you like to clip
Nas,
and all of this.
Nas.
I know we've spoken, so we're speaking.
Nas, jihad. Nas, don't run away, Nas. Nas has run away. Very simply, Nas is supposed to have been someone who knows, let's say, the scholarly work on Islam. So he should know basic evidence for questions I ask, including things such as whether the Quran is corrupt or not. What evidence exists for the fact that the Quran was actually from Muhammad of the 7th century, not some made-up literature from a later time? Nas should know this kind of information because the Muslim Ummah across the UK are deluded. They don't know. They are dependent on people such as Nas to know. But Nas has demonstrated before the camera that he has no evidence whatsoever. My dear friends, Muslims who are watching, if you're thinking that the Quran is not corrupt, wake up. It's not that the Quran is just not corrupt. No one has a clue as to what the Quran is supposed to be. No one has a clue based on evidence. And Nas has demonstrated that he also has no evidence to support this. We also dealt with another topic where latest research is revealing the fact that for at least 2 centuries across Arabia, there was no idolatry, virtually, based on solid archaeological research. A primary source material for this is a scholar by name Ahmad Al-Jalad, who is based in the US right now. Has fundamental research done based on epigraphy, rock inscriptions. Idolatry was virtually gone. In other words, the entire story of how Islam began is humbug. No one has a clue. No one has a clue as to how Islam began.